Alrighty. So, how are we going to start? I have no notes for this. What?
I don't either, because I kept coming up with them and it was awful. So I figured we would just wing it.
That's a good idea.
Are you getting pretty good at it?
Getting pretty handy, bro.
Cool.
To warn the American people that in this crucial time we can no longer afford to stand still. We can no longer afford to be second best.
But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of
This week, an introduction to the guys and the show. We have Jesse Shelley from He Is Legend, and the Employee of the Month battle begins.
Hey, this is Jesse Shelley from He Is Legend. You're listening to Red Flag Rhetoric.
What's up? Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of Red Flag Rhetoric. My name's Rico, and this is my co-host Matt.
What's going on, Rico? How you doing?
Pretty good. What's up with you?
Oh, just finally getting around to recording this episode, right?
Yeah, we've had the interview in the can for, a month now?
Pretty much. I think it's been all of 3 weeks at least.
Yeah, there's been 8 people, champing at the bit to listen to this.
Yes. And all 8 of them are going to be pleasantly disappointed when this actually
They're going to get rocked.
Yes,
by the way, I definitely just said champing at the bit instead of chomping at the bit. Well, it's an Every Time I Die song, so it makes sense.
There you go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the fact that it's called Red Flag Rhetoric, and the fact that it might start out with a few interviews with musicians and whatnot, but it's also going to be about everything from movies to music, politics. My favorite thing, conspiracy, which is
Definitely
why I call it Red Flag Rhetoric, with the red flag laws that are coming into play, the gun laws, and people that should be red flagged not to be able to purchase them and whatnot. I think that's the red flag thing, right? That's where I heard it first.
Hey, you brought it up to me.
Yeah, something about Trump passing some kind of law to where if you talk about certain conspiracy theories or 9/11 inside job kind of stuff, you get flagged, and it makes it either harder or impossible to buy a firearm, which I shouldn't own one anyway, so,
And I'm glad that you're going to get me red flagged as well. Maybe we should point out the fact that when we're talking about most of these conspiracies, we're not going to talk about anything that we haven't done research on. And I'm going to try to be the level head here.
Well, of course. And that's where I think that's where a lot of the entertainment's going to come from. In fact, let's talk about our rating system, kind of like a 5-star rating system. It's going to be, after we discuss things, we have a couple that are just fun, stuff that I'm nowhere near off the fence on. But it's the 5-star rating system, and on the fence would be in the middle at a 3. Off the fence, completely, as if you don't believe it, would be a 1. Off the fence, you believe it a little bit with 1 foot still on the fence, would be a 2. Off the fence, totally, I completely buy this is truth, would be a 5. And off the fence with 1 foot still on the fence towards believing it would be a 4. And I couldn't have possibly explained that any worse and out of order, could I?
We're just going to call you Mr. Fives, I think. And I'll be Mr. Ones, and we'll just, our listeners might fall somewhere on around a 3 usually. Just hope they average out.
A lot of 5s. There's a lot of 5s with me.
Yeah, there are.
5 with fun.
And, we're going to talk a lot about music, and you have a lot of music connections, so we'll have some interviews with music, and I have somewhat of a music background and also a science background, so we'll talk about some scientific topics and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and I feel like I should give proper shout-outs here. This whole thing started, I hooked up an interview with Corey Brendan from Norma Jean for my friend Toomey's podcast, Talk to Me, and he just let me do the interview and write all the questions, and it went really well, I thought, and all the people around me that usually have to tell me it went well, thought it went well. So, and I had a lot of fun doing that and thought, you know what, I want to keep doing this, but I would like to talk about the stuff I talk about and what my friend Matt here talks about on the daily, which is everything we mentioned, from music to movies to video games to pop punk to metal to conspiracy, on and on and on. And I honestly, in hindsight, I wish we could have just recorded every conversation we've ever had at work and just edit that out.
Right? That would have been so much easier than doing this.
Our coworkers look at us every day, and I could tell there's amusement.
So, Hey, so speaking of conspiracies, it is 11:05. It is now 8 p.m. Central Time, and we are all still here. And so, do we want to talk anything about that?
I guess so. Well, there was this German guy on YouTube, and it kind of went around to all like the mainstream conspiracy sites. If any of you guys keep up with anything like the higher side chats or Freeman Fly or any of the bigger ones like that, where this guy put together all these clips from Simpsons, and everybody knows that Simpsons has all the predictive programming and calling stuff years before it happens. And long story short, he found a connection that made it look like there was going to be some terrorist event in Seattle on the 3rd during the Seahawks game. And I mean, if you watch this, and this guy put together like 2 hours and it caught on, and tons of people, you can still find all the videos, I'm sure, tons of people like bought into it. I mean, there was thousands of people adding to it by the end. And not that I was ever convinced anything was going to happen. I mean, obviously I didn't call anybody I know, but it was intriguing. I mean, well, what did you say? You were at 20% at one point, and you were usually not on board with anything like that. And you were like,
I'm never on board. And yeah, I mean, there was enough there to get me interested. I'd watched the whole game, and normally I would have been, flipping through. I watch a lot of the football games anyway, but that was one that I probably wouldn't have watched the whole game. But I sat there and watched the whole thing interested.
Hoping for some fireworks? No, just kidding.
I don't know about hoping for some fireworks.
Well, no, I mean, of course, of course nothing's going to happen like that. And a lot of these topics, like I said, they're fun. I don't believe that Donald Trump is a time traveler. But when we get to that topic, you'll see how much fun is behind that. I mean, it is just endless. And then once in a while you come across something that there probably is a deep state. So it's just fun. It's a healthy pastime for a psycho. Hey, before we get to this interview, I would like to discuss a new segment. First episode. The new segment is where we tell you who is the employee of the month here at Red Flag Rhetoric. And since it took, we decided I would be more on the creative and finding interviews, and he would be more on the technical side of thing. And since the reason why this episode is 4 weeks late was all technical and all Matt's work, Matt, employee of the month.
Yes. Wait, for being late? Employee of the month for being late.
No, the episode's late.
Yeah, but you said it's late because of me.
Oh.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. Don't even act like I'm gonna give it back.
Well, whenever we get brave enough to simulcast and live stream, we'll definitely have framed pictures behind us of the employee of the month, which will probably end up just being both of us because it's just me and you voting.
Yeah.
And our eight fans.
I need. We're gonna let the fans vote. That's a good idea. I need a plaque.
We kind of have.
We're gonna need a retrofit a plaque that has episode 1 on it, and for me. So we just wanted to make clear on one point is this is episode 1. Neither one of us have a ton of technical experience, and this is going to be an organic thing that's going to grow, and each episode will be better, and we're learning, and we're putting stuff together and mixing and editing, and so we just wanted to make it clear that this episode is really a trial run. It's helping us get it down. It'll grow over time, especially with the interview. There were some things that we learned about audio. It was really hard to get the audio to match over the Skype on the interview.
You know what? It's one of those things where everyone I've talked to that has a podcast absolutely can't stand their first few episodes. Daniel at Unframe of Mind talked about his voice being cringeworthy until he learned to project, and Toomey, the same thing. He can't listen to it. So I think everyone's going to be willing to grow with us on this. It's not going to be something anyone's expecting right out of the box to be, super hot. Plus, podcasts, they know we're not DJs.
Oh, but we could be.
Well, let's get on with it. Without any further ado, this is our interview with Jesse Shelley from He Is Legend, and this song is Burn All Your Rock Records from the new LP White Bat.
Ladies and gentlemen, He Is Legend's Jesse Shelley. How's it going, man?
Going well. How y'all doing?
Reasonably well.
Where are you guys coming out of? Tennessee?
Middle Tennessee. Yeah,
cool,
just south of Nashville.
Cool, man. Love it there. Miss living there.
So yeah, you guys are prepping up for the 20th anniversary Atreyu tour.
Yeah, we're leaving for that on Saturday. So today's Monday. So yeah, just like final things, like just getting sticks and heads and things in. We're meeting up for practice tomorrow. We've been kind of hitting it every day. So I'm literally setting out my drums right now and just getting, just in the zone. It's always weird when you take a few months off, or not a few months, a couple months off, and then just like getting back in the swing of it. The first few shows always feel just like kind of like fish out of water for a second. And so yeah, just trying to like get my cardio back up and just hope that first show back is just like try to hit the ground running, but you're never like ready. Just the first 3 shows are always kind of hard.
Right, you just dive in.
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys are touring with them. Me and Matt were talking the other day about some of the bands that we got into in that era, and there's a very few bands that survive that. Like He Is Legend for sure. Every Time I Die, Norma Jean. There's a couple that just stayed with it and evolved and grew up instead of just trying to stay screamo or post-hardcore, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And Atreyu was one that came up, so I found out you guys were doing that tour, and I thought that was super cool. Like, great band.
He Is Legend goes way far back with Atreyu. I've toured with them in other things I've done, so I don't know. It's gonna be one of those tours. It's like everyone kind of already knows each other, and I don't really imagine it being one of those things where we're not hanging out every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is random. I didn't even have this in my notes, but I remember inside of one of the liner notes for a Atreyu record, can't remember the name of it, but they were thinking bands, and He Is Legend came up, but instead of it saying He Is Legend, it said He Is parentheses should be legend parentheses airy, like which like one of the best compliments you could put in there,
Yeah. I'm sure that there's some inside thing. They toured together long before I joined the group, but yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think the shows will be fun. I think they'll do well. So yeah, I'm stoked to leave, for sure. And this is our first like real pass over the U.S. with supporting this new album and stuff. We did some like release shows for a week or two, but this is our first time getting out west and playing like White Bat stuff.
Nice. So you mentioned cardio and getting ready for the tour. When we went and saw you twice this year, I think the last time, the band before you finished, I remember, I'm talking you specifically, this was a story about you, the band before you finished, and everybody cheers, and I heard you just look around, you're talking to the guy next to you, you said, man, we're about to blow their minds. And then you came out. And,
that must have been sarcastic, because
you came out, and your energy is just through the roof. And what's the mindset and the intentionality of that energy? Because you came out, and greater than any of the other drummers there, or any of the other bands there, you were just through the roof with the energy.
Well, it's never like a competition, or like I'm like when I will say that, like I think it's from Tenacious D or something. It's like they're like number one fan. He's like, you guys are gonna blow people's minds, stuff like that. I'll just, especially like, and sometimes it's like if a show's looking like pretty sour, of like, ooh, like maybe the ticket sales aren't there, or like people are just not feeling us, and like, let's go change some people's lives, or like I'm about to blow these people's minds. It's just like a joke. Like tension if there is any, but no. As far as like the energy thing goes, it's like it's not. I don't like to think of it as a shtick, or like I'm not a fan, I'll say, of musicians on stage that have moves, or like they're just like pulling out of their like, now I'm doing the spin in this song, and I do this and I do that. Like, I'm really not a big fan of that, or like bands who are just like, oh, I'm gonna act like this band I saw on stage. But I guess if I have a thing, I like to play almost on like 100% like velocity, but be able to make it through the entirety of set. So I think of it almost like cruising at like 85 miles an hour. So I have to like preserve a little bit. Like I can't go full bananas the first half of the set, but it's just like keep it at a really powerful level for the entirety of the set. And you know, that's just always kind of been the thing I think that might stand out about my playing live. So it's like, I guess I got in good shape a couple of years ago and did a tour where like I was just like doing well, and I just never wanted to go back down from that because I knew what I could do. So it's just been a matter, and as you get older, it gets a little harder of like keeping that. So it's not like it used to be, man. Like, I mean, I'm still a young guy, but I was doing this when I was 14 years old. So I used to have literally unlimited energy, and so now I have to like make an effort to eat right and exercise every single day so I can still do it like I used to.
Nice. Now you trust me, I understand. I'm an aging drummer. You see the gray in here?
It's my philosophy on what I play or how I play or my setup or this is like say the most profound thing in the most simple of ways. Like say the most important thing. Like say the most important thing you can, but like in as simply as you can, as concise as you can. So you know you can. Like as in a conversation, you can say a whole lot, but you're not saying anything important. Or if you say, you know, less, but something cool. So if you're going to go over the top and play a lot of stuff, it better be really, it better be something cool and that adds something to the song or the show. Not just like, just playing a bunch of fills to try to like, perk everybody's ears up like that. That never really translates, and there was definitely a time where I totally did that for years.
Yeah, the first time I was actually produced by an actual producer, he kept saying, "That's cool and all, but you're losing friends on the dance floor."
Yeah, absolutely.
So I still use that phrase, like, "Yeah, that's cool," and the other drummers in the crowd would be like, "High five," mental high fives, but yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah. And there's lots of little tricks you learn along the way of just like where you can jazz things up, but keep the kick just like literally for the people who are dancing, like keep it going. So.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Even though the crowd would never say we're dancing exactly. If you don't have like, I get you. Speaking of that kind of thing with writing and keeping the crowd going, beyond just the drum parts and maybe some, organizing the songs, do you write beyond that at all? Maybe
for He Is Legend, or just like
no, for He Is Legend, do you do more than just drumming and structuring, or are you just like, hey, I'm backbeat guy, what's up?
Well, I mean, He Is Legend is Adam Tambu's. He has written and recorded every song on every record you've ever heard. He is the guy, captain and conductor when we're writing music. But I mean, for White Bat, I mean, I was heavily involved with every step of the way. I did write some songs did come from a guitar riff that I had, but really that's just me like handing Adam an ingredient and be like, here's this, and he kind of takes it and makes it a song. So there was a couple of songs where like I had a good idea where it was gonna go, or I had a guitar riff that inspired the entire song. But as far as songwriting, it's like it's Adam's thing. But he likes writing with a drummer. So we just did, I mean, for White Bat, it was something like 75 days every single day in this room, in this very spot, just me and him just going back and forth. So,
the pre-production alone.
Yeah. So
wow.
We carved out just a chunk, and I don't think we're ever going to do that again because it was very stressful. So, White Bat just came out, but we're working on new stuff now just so we can compile songs over, the next couple of years. And so when it's time to get in the studio, we'll already have a really good, catalog ready to go. But we wrote so much stuff for this last album, and some things that I think are going to make it on the next one just couldn't get it right this time around. But as far as White Bat, it was just like a million ideas me and Adam worked on, and those were the 11 songs we felt strongest about collectively as a group. So that was basically that. But yeah, I mean, I was heavily involved the entire way. You know, me and Adam putting the songs together, and obviously drums and bass. You know, Matt was in the room a lot. We wrote a lot of it as just a 3-piece in the room. And working with Matt, like when he's recording bass, like we could speak each other's language and be like, well, here's where I like break it in half, so maybe you should do this. So just, I mean, it was a collective effort. So I wouldn't take credit for a ton. As much as I can say I did, it's just like these guys are insane. They've been doing it forever. So yeah.
No, I get it. No, I'm a drummer too. Like, so like, yeah, I co-wrote that song, and at the end of the day, like, no, I didn't. I just was there for the creative process. I get it.
Yeah. No, but it was really fun. It's like I got to come up with, you know, there's guitar riffs of mine on there. There's stuff on bass that, you know, I came up with, but it was not me sitting in a room alone. It was us three. It was like we were all there for pretty much every moment of it, and you know, and like none of these guys play drums, but they came with ideas. It's like usually before Adam spits out a guitar, if he's like, here's how the drums go, and he just basically like tells me where the snare is. He doesn't understand, like, he doesn't know time signatures or this or that. He's like, I just know the snare falls right here. So
You're
like,
kidding me.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what the time signatures? So would he just listen to Meshuggah, or how does he get?
He loves Meshuggah.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Because how else do you? Yeah.
I don't
wow,
know.
that's
he's a weirdo.
Yeah, you know what? What else makes sense too? I had no idea he was like the driving songwriter. But what else makes sense is how cool in the background, like you don't hear a lot from him, and if like you guys are doing a group interview, he rarely speaks up. Knowing that, it all makes sense. It's the humble dude that's like the creative guy, always.
He's one of the oddest birds I've ever met. He's so soft-spoken, quiet. I mean, he's huge and intimidating, but he's an absolute genius. I mean, a musical genius. You know, whether or not you're a fan of He Is Legend or that thing, but it's like he's got so much to say, like, you know, through his music. And really, I mean, if you ever get him to open up, he's extremely intelligent. But yeah, just as you said, like it's not the most known thing that he is, you know, he is Legend. And some people have, you know, over the years been like, oh, I miss when this guy played rhythm guitar for your band. I miss this guy or this guy from this record. It's just like, I mean, Adam's a guy. Without him, this band is not the same thing at all. So.
Yeah. Well, we noticed when oftentimes during like festivals and stuff, whenever there's interviews, it's usually you and Skylar, or it has been lately. We've seen a lot of interviews with you and Skylar. Are you guys just like the face, the charismatic guys, or?
Dude, honestly, it's just, well, first of all, you know, Adam and Manny don't really like doing them. And it's not that I like doing them either. It's just like I've done them a little bit, and Skylar does most our stuff. But it's just me and Skylar and goofballs. So it's just like, it makes it a little easier because, I mean, honestly, more than half the interviews, I'd say most of the interviews we do, you never see them again because they're, you know, it just is what it is. There's been so many times him and I have gone up to someone and then they start and then they clam up and freeze. Don't ask any questions. And then we're just like, all right, we'll ask you some questions. And then we like goof off and then leave. But it just,
so weird.
Dude, I'm just saying, like, when you do those, like, when you're at a festival and you're like, okay, you have 20 interviews today, I would say 15 of them, like, people have not prepared at all. And not even in the way of like, okay, you didn't have questions prepared, but like, don't even know who the band is, wrong name, like, it's wild. So him and I don't know, it's just a way of just like, we just make it not such a miserable time if we do it together, because sometimes you're just standing there by yourself and just like, I don't know what you want me to say, man. You don't know my band or who I am. It's just like, why am I here? Like, but
you're making us feel better. That makes us feel better.
No, hey, rest assured, 8 or 9 people are gonna get rocked when they listen to this.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I got a question for you. I was listening to a few interviews this morning to make sure I didn't ask you super redundant questions, and I heard something that I was blown away by. So, did you have a separate producer for the drums on White Bat, like completely separate guy that just produced the drums?
Yeah. So Matt Goldman is who I did drums with for this record, but a producer I've worked with, as he's just a close friend too for the last decade, and he's a drummer. And it was for this record we wanted to the last 4 records have been done with Al Jacobs here in North Carolina. I didn't know Al closely then, and there was a specific sound I wanted, and I needed a big room to do it in. And so I know Matt, I know that room, and it was also the studio he has been in for the last 10 years was shutting down, and it was just like, I just want to get in there one more time and do my thing, like with Matt. And it was just like, it just lined up just in the way of, I wanted to work with Matt. I didn't necessarily want him to do the record because, on the flip side, Adam and Matty are very comfortable with Al in the same way I was with Matt, and just like, they don't want to, work with someone and start that whole relationship over. So we all kind of just decided we want to work with our own engineers that we're so comfortable with the, that language you have through like some plexiglass, where it's like, you don't have to learn someone's personality. You don't have to learn, like Matt Goldman, like unfortunately, he knows my limitations. Like he knows how far he can push me as a player, or where it stops, or what he couldn't ask of me, or I don't know. We just have that back and forth. So that takes just like hours out of a day of recording drums. So it was for the I wanted to do drums in Atlanta, and get those tones. But also just I wanted to work with Matt because I really thought he would bring the best out of me for this record. And prior albums, they've never really dove into drums as the guys doing it weren't necessarily drummers. So you get basically the thumbs up or the thumbs down. It's like, that was in time and it sounded good. So
right.
That's great, but it's awesome when Matt can go, that was in time and it sounded good, but what if you did this? And I've never taken that much time to do drums before, so really every day we could just focus on getting good usable tones and really feeling out what the song called for. I had an idea for everything, but it didn't mean it was the best idea. And to have a real drummer in there hear it more for the first time than the other guys who've been hearing it for 3 months, that just changes things completely. And then there's parts throughout the album that I'm so glad we took that extra time with drums, because if I would have been just left to my own devices, it probably wouldn't have turned out as good.
Well, being too close to it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Wipeout was is the first album you've recorded with He Is Legend, but do you think touring on Few and just being with the band, because you were fans of He Is Legend, before then.
Yeah.
You were a fan. So do you think that helped? I'm all of a sudden you're on a record of a band that you were a fan of. Do you think being with the band a few years before then helped going into the recording process for Wipeout?
Yeah, easily. The first 3 records are still some of my favorite albums. There's still songs that I've played 500 million times live with these guys that I still can find enjoyment listening to, because there is a disconnect of some songs off the first record, it's just it doesn't feel like my song. I get to play it all the time and that's fun, but I still get enjoyment from it. But yeah, it definitely, we in those couple of years before White Bat, like, you know, we became best friends. So like, it wasn't like some session where you like meeting the guys in the studio to do an album together. It wasn't at all like that. Like, it's like we're here as like buds and friends because we want to do this. So I mean, absolutely, like, I'm so glad that I got some time with the band, just to you know, become friends before we dated before we, you know,
There you go. There you go.
It wasn't a prearranged marriage.
yeah. But yeah, it also made White Bat extremely stressful on me as the only non-original member, of just like, and it's not a fair pressure, and it's like not a fair thing to say, but a fair thing to say of like, oh, if people hate this new record, I would be a very easy thing to point to. Like, even if it was, you know, not my fault at all, it didn't, you know, do well or this or that. It's just like, I would feel some sense of responsibility of like, well, I'm the new ingredient and it tastes bad. So yeah, there was a tremendous amount of pressure, and it really felt like, you know, we were whittling songs down from 50 song ideas to 40 to 30, and then we're getting down to like a dozen song ideas, and it's just like, it felt to me like, you know, I'm never gonna be satisfied with this. And it was just one of those things, and I can listen to it now and just wish I did a couple of things different or this or that, but it's just like, I gave it everything I had. But I think this next go around of working on songs now, it's just like, there's a little less pressure on me to like satisfy or like do things justice, you know, for the fans, for myself, like all of that. But yeah, a tremendous amount of pressure on me is just because I was such a big fan of the band before riding with them. So yeah, it was scary. It was just like, there's just like no way I'm ever gonna be like happy with this.
I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that you guys were sitting on a finished record for like a year before you dropped anything. Is that about right?
I mean, yeah, the record, I mean, when we released White Bat, the rest of the record was done. So yeah, it was just a lot of complications, red tape, and labels having different ideas of how things should be, us having different ideas. We had a lot of back and forth with having the album mixed. Like, we went with a couple of different people. Like, we mixed White Bat the song first, and I mean, we had close to 20 different versions of like mixes on that song. It was just like, that was a whole animal in itself of like, yeah, I have some Dropbox folder somewhere of just like so many different mixes for White Bat. And we wanted to work with Nolly, who we worked with on Few, but he wasn't like, schedules just weren't aligned, and it was just like, budget didn't account for this and this and this. So it's just like, Nolly wasn't an option for a minute. So we did all these things, and just like after a month of like flopping around like fish, it's just like, can we just get Nolly to do this thing? And he really went out of his way and like did us a solid, and, you know, really happy with it. And for any drummers listening, it's just like, I was a little afraid, just because he, you know, he's got those Get Good drums that are amazing, but I didn't want to lose all the work I did in that studio getting cool tones. But, you know, there's some sample on the kick, but other than that, he worked with the tones I got. So, you know, I was happy with that. And so, yeah, stoked on that. I imagine we'll work together again.
Nice. So the first time I saw you on the Come Up, you were playing with Spencer and Sleepwave. I don't know if you remember running into me there too. It was on the Oh God, the Aftermath 10-year anniversary tour.
That was 4 years ago. 4 years ago to the day, because the drummer for 68 and I are good friends. It was his birthday yesterday, so I was talking to him yesterday, and yeah, we were on that tour together 4 years ago. We played in Chicago on his birthday 4 years ago.
Nice, that's a great band too. So like, it's fun watching your Come Up. By the way, I'm using that term loosely. I would never say that in real life, but it's fun watching you come up. But so from Sleepwave to He Is Legend, what is your bucket list band? Like, if you could play in any other band from like from here on out, and not even leave He Is Legend, because that's like the dream gig, like creatively. Is there any other band, like, if you could take one step up from here?
I mean, obviously there's bands I love and would love to play for, but it's like I don't know if I would.
Just one.
I mean, dead or alive, because a lot of my favorite bands are long gone.
Oh, actually, in my notes, I have any era, dead or alive.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to play with Zeppelin and just like
Nice.
not do as good as, not even hold a flame to John. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah.
Would love to play for Nirvana, but again, I'd be taking like the coolest guy of the band. It's just like, I don't know. All the bands I would love to play drums for have drummers that I would never want to not play for them. So it's just like, whatever.
I understand. That's crazy. I have in my notes lightning round, and you just knocked off two of them, like, because one of them was Bonham or Neil Peart. So that's awesome.
I love Neil, but yeah, Bonham's the guy. I have like 2 Led Zeppelin tattoos. So.
Yeah. Well. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about friends on the dance floor, so like I agree. Like I like Backbeat more too. Lightning round, DC or Marvel?
I'll go Marvel, but I don't actually know.
There you go. Okay. Your desert island record, and you have to name one. Like I can't do it, so
You get to do it instead.
gunpoint. Like name one.
I might go. I'd either go In Utero, or I might go King Animal by Soundgarden. It's one of my favorite albums to listen to front to back, so maybe that one. No, I change it. Alice in Chains, Dirt. That'd be my guy.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the garage and do karate? Holy crap!
Exactly.
Okay, so if you were born in any era of music, like 60s, disco, like if you could reincarnate and be born into your favorite era, which I think you just answered it, but where would it be?
I'm gonna go off I don't know. The '80s looked really fun. So
It does.
Yeah, I might go '80s just on like the fun factor, and there's so much money, being pumped into live music and so much
Hair gel.
all the other stuff. And technology was on the upswing too. That's why I love like early '90s stuff. Is just like you still had the big budgets for the record, but you now had all this technology to do things in a crazy way without like, taking away all the money from it. Now we're at it's an amazing in its own respect of like, I recorded demos in this room that sounded fine. And it's amazing that you can do that for free in basically a bedroom.
Laptop,
and do that. Yep. But that's why awesome studios are gone. So 90s were cool because there was all that money, all the big studios were there, but you had all this awesome technology at your fingertips to like do awesome things. So I think that's why some of those records sound and just are so good.
Favorite childhood show?
Childhood show? I saw Lamb of God when I was like 14, and that was an awesome show. That was one of the last shows I was like sucked into, and like I was just, the crowd was just one big meat pile of energy, and I was just like right in there with them. So I look back fondly on that show.
All right, so you already answered this, but you got to sound cool too. So Nirvana or Failure?
Nirvana.
I knew it. Right. Okay. Favorite Deftones LP: Around the Fur or White Pony?
Dude, I was arguing with a friend of mine recently about this. I will say White Pony, but But I argue Diamond Eyes front to back might be my favorite record by them. And hard to say. And some days of the week I'm like, I hate to say it, but I think it's better than White Pony. I would never say that. I won't say it.
I get you. I feel you. Well, I'm probably holding on to like some nostalgic stuff. You know, I'm 42, so that was like my prime. So I'm probably like around the Fur's mine, but it's probably a nostalgic thing. That's when I first met those dudes.
Around the Fur has this. Around the Fur is something I play when I want to literally just like pound my forehead into the steering wheel and just like rage. The White Pony, I think, is like, if you're making a Deftones greatest hit record, White Pony is like gonna be on most of it, I feel like. But I'd say, and I know this isn't part of the question, from front to back, if I'm gonna lay down on the couch and listen to a Deftones record, I almost always choose Diamond Eyes.
Wow. Are the other He Is Legend guys, are they into Deftones? Because I hear a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'd say collectively that'd be all in our like top 3. And I'd say Diamond Eyes is something we all, I mean, obviously White Pony, everybody in He Is Legend loves Deftones. Adam loves Around the Fur, and we all play that all the time. But Diamond Eyes is something that's like a special album for all of us, and like, yeah, that's one we quote a lot when we're talking to people about mixes or vibes we're going for, of just like that, like a super heavy record like that, but still like melodic and like, I hate to use the word deep, but like deep.
Sure. Well, hey, other than the upcoming Atreyu tour, what else can people look forward to with you guys? What's coming up next?
We are announcing a tour within the next week. I'm still just waiting on a couple little things to confirm. I would say it right now, but I don't want to jump the gun and cancel it, because this is a tour that already got postponed once. So we are announcing another tour, hitting a lot of spots we haven't hit in a while. But 2020 is just like, we're trying to make our rounds. Like we want to get to Australia, we want to get to Japan, we want to do all the things we've wanted to do with past records. But yeah, we're announcing, and by the time this is up, I think we'll have another tour announced. So just like check out our socials and stuff; they'll be all over there.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, this was Jesse Shelley, and this next song is White Bat. Thank you.
Oh yeah. See you guys.
I'm in the shadows, salivating. step in the light and show my face. They call me